This coaching call will focus on using the brain-friendly reading lesson planning outline to write a lesson that introduces a new skill. And I will be going step by step through the lesson planning outline and explaining the thought processes and resources that I use when writing a lesson plan for a student that I tutor. Let's first look at the resources that I always use to guide my planning. One of the first things that I look at are the table of contents that's in the training companion guide. So I actually have a copy made for each student that I use to check off which skills have been taught. And this helps me to determine what skill to teach next and what sounds I might dictate for sound dictation because I know what skills they've been taught. I also use the previous lesson plan where I've written notes regarding what charts were tapped and at what level, which sounds I dictated for sound dictation, and notes about which sounds that they knew, which sounds that they needed a clue or didn't know and needed to use their chart to find. I also have notes about what activities were completed and notes about what skill they're ready to be taught for the next lesson. So my notes give me a lot of information about which sounds and skills that my students know well and which need more review. I also use informal assessments or snippets of their work, such as words that I had them read or write, or sentence work to determine what skills need review or continued practice. And all of these resources will give you the information you need to make instructional decisions and help you complete your planning outline. So as you look at the table of contents, the previous lesson plan, and any student work or data, think about these things as you complete your new lesson planning outline. What skills have been previously taught? This helps guide you in selecting which sounds you will dictate for sound dictation and also which skill to teach next in the sequence of instruction. What sounds or skills that have been already explicitly taught does the student know well or need more practice and review? So this will also help to guide you in selecting sounds for sound dictation and also what type of review activity you might include and whether you go on to the next skill or practice the same skill for review. Do they know the skill in isolation but forget the skill when applying it to write words, phrases, or sentences? So for example, a student might know the CK rule, they know it and they can state the rule, but when they're asked to write a sentence with some CK words in it, they may struggle with applying that skill. Can they perform the skill with enough accuracy to go on to the next lesson? And on page 8 in your training companion guide, there is information about pacing. It's important to think about moving as quickly as possible, but also as slowly as the child needs. And are they ready for or do they need more challenging work? Older children may lose interest and be difficult to motivate if the work is too simple or babyish. So you want to think about whether they are ready to be challenged a little bit more. And once you've thought about those questions and you've decided what skill you will introduce or review, you will then use the lesson pages and game resources to plan the instructional activities that are centered around that particular skill that you're teaching or reviewing. So your lesson pages have a variety of words, phrases, and sentences to choose from. Choose the words, phrases, and sentences to include in your plan for the word study and sentence work that match your student's ability. Remember, there's lots of skills on that page, and they're listed from very simple on the left-hand side to more complex. So you can go through and pick and choose the words and the sentences and phrases that match your student's ability. You will then choose a game to practice the skill, and there's lots of games to choose from. You can use any of the ready-made games, or you can customize a game to include the skills you're teaching, or you can have the student help you make a game. So you have lots of choices. So let me give you a little background information on the student that I am actually planning for. He is a 10-year-old boy who's a homeschooler. He knows a lot of words by sight. He can spell a lot of commonly used words, but when I screened him, there were a lot of gaps in his skills. So he doesn't know a lot of the spelling rules like CK and when to use K and CK, vowel, consonant, E, but he picks up skills really quickly. So this is what the table of contents or his skill sheet looks like. I took the table of contents and I just copied it and I just checked off which skills we did. We needed a little review in vowels. We've done the second chart and the blends chart. We did a lot with vowel, consonant, E. And then I decided because he's an older boy and I wanted to keep his interest level up, I was going to introduce him to VCCV1 and do a little work with that and include vowel, consonant, E work with that too, and then circle back around and do consonant blends. So in this lesson, we're going to be doing consonant blends. Okay, so I look at the table of contents when I'm planning this lesson, and I also look at, this is the previous lesson. Okay, so if I'm doing my tapping charts first, I look at my previous lesson and we did blends. And on my notes, it says we did it backwards, sounds only, a different order. And we did the second chart, sounds only, backwards, different order. And then I also have 3-letter blends, call and response. So this student needed some work with just making sure he's saying the 3-letter blends correctly. So we're going to continue. We're going to do call and response with the 3-letter. I'm just going to write a little note. 3-letter is going to be call and response, but we're going to do the blends out of order. And he's doing sounds only. This student actually goes really quickly through the 2-letter blends. He knows those very well. So he's ready to do it. Sounds only. And we're going to do the second chart out of order as well. Sounds only. And I usually let him pick what he wants to do. Okay. Now for sound dictation, I see over here that I gave him some sounds, and here I have TCH with an H because I had to give him a hint for that. TH2, which is the th sound, the softer sound as in them. He needed a hint for that as well. And then V and TH2, they sound a lot alike. So listening to and saying those sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include them on this sound dictation. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to have him point to. First, I'm going to have them point to, after he taps the chart, I'm going to point to the sound that says v, like van, point to the sound that says th, like them. And I'm also going to have him find all the sounds that say ch. So I like to do a combination sometimes when I notice that they might not know those sounds. And then I'm also going to have him do some writing. We'll do it on a whiteboard. He likes to use the whiteboard. And I'm also going to include those sounds. So we're going to do V, we'll do TH2, we'll include some short vowel sounds, ah and a, o and a. And since we've also done blends, we've been doing the blends chart, and since we're going to be doing some blends today, I want to see which ones he can pull up quickly. So let's do CL, CR, we'll do SC and SK. And last time I did some words, I wanted to see if he knew how to spell these words, and he spelled them all correctly. So sometimes I will dictate words as well as sounds. And he can do this work pretty quickly. It's not like this sound dictation is going to take up most of our time. Today, I'm just going to do some sounds though. So I'll include those. Oh, I'm also going to include QU because one of my words today is going to have a QU, and I want to see if he knows that. So that's going to be my sound dictation, and that's plenty. So with sound dictation, you want to choose 5 to 10 different sounds. Now for review and reteaching, last time I had him read a mix of CVC and vowel consonant E words. When I take a look at that, and these were some words that I had him read, and it's a mixture of CVC, vowel consonant E, and they aren't all nonsense words. And I did add a couple of VCCV1 words to see if he was able to read them. And he didn't even have to mark these. he could just break them up himself. So he caught on very quickly. The only two words were these two words that he didn't read correctly, Jube and Mage. So I had him draw that arc. So this tells me that, okay, he's got some of these other words that have that vowel consonant E, but let's work a little bit more on that skill, because we want to get him to 90 to 100% accuracy for our tutoring students. So I'm going to do another where I give him some words. Here's my review words. I'm going to include just some more nonsense words with vowel consonant E, like foot and mir and rose, and some CVC words, zud, lum, hage, bick, cove, gabe, doge, zimdoff, galnub. So those are just some words. I just make them up, you guys, or you can take a real word and just change the vowel, or, just make them up and put them on a piece of paper like this. And I'm going to have them go through and just read those words. It's kind of a little informal assessment. I'm going to stick that on the back of my plan. Okay, so this is going to be a read mix of CVC and vowel consonant E and VCCV1 words. We're going to do that. Okay. All right. So I did all my sound dictation and review. Now, what skill am I doing? You might think, did you forget to write the skill? No, I didn't. I'm going to look here, because I usually, on my plan, I write at the bottom that day, so it's fresh in my mind if I think they're ready to go on to the next skill. So down here where I put next, we're going to do blends and vowel consonant E. So he's ready to do that skill, beginning blends. We're also going to do VCCV review as well. So I'll include some syllable division review. Okay, so my skill goes at the top. We're going to do beginning blends, CVC, and vowel consonant E. And because I'm doing both skills at once, I wouldn't recommend doing this for a student that is struggling a little bit more. I'm doing this for him because he can handle it. So do you see how on my plan here, I'm going to consonant blends. We did all this vowel consonant E work. And then a lot of this work down here are all like closed syllable work. I want to keep that vowel consonant E work going. So I'm going to do the CVC page with the consonant blends, and also include some of the vowel consonant E with blends, which are on page 90. So 58 and 90 are what I'm going to pull my words from. If you're doing this with a student that can't handle two skills at once, just focus on one page. Okay. All right. So now these are my two lesson pages. We've got consonant blends beginning, and we've got a few with vowel consonant E with blends. And I can just choose which ones that I want to include. I highlighted those. Okay. So when I'm teaching a new skill and it's a new grapheme, we can write 9 times the new grapheme. But because these are beginning blends, we're not going to write all the beginning blends 9 times, but I can choose maybe 3 or 4 that we're going to write maybe 3 times each. So for this, I'm going to change this skill because there's so many, and I'm just going to say, okay, which ones do I want him to write and 3 times each? TR can be a little tricky because it sounds like a CH sometimes. Tr. DR can be a little tricky because it sounds like J a lot of times I notice with kids. So I'm going to include those. CL. And then we'll do SC. And because there's 2 that make that sound, SC and SK. And we're just going to write those 3 times each on a whiteboard. And as he writes them, he's going to say t, tr, k, kl, like that. And that's also in the front of your training companion guide. It tells you how you would have that student write those blends. We're going to arm tap orally 4 to 8 words. We're not writing any words here. We're going to just arm tap orally. We're going to listen to those blends that we hear at the beginning, and we're going to practice keeping them on our shoulder, because remember, the blend goes on your shoulder as one chunk. So I'm just going to pick some words from my lesson pages for us to arm tap orally. I'm going to pick some words that are CVC words from this page, and then I'll pick some words that have the vowel consonant E on that page. So we will do grab, and there's not a lot of space here to write, so I'm drawing my little arrow here. These are my words that we're going to arm tap orally. Grab, we'll do drive, that has the long I, so we'll talk about what sound does the vowel say in the middle. Plan, flop, swipe, and prom. So these are my oral arm tapping. Okay. Okay. So I've got my oral arm tap. I've introduced the skill. We're doing blends. We're going to practice how we would tap words with blends, keeping the blends on our shoulder. Gr, a, b, dr, I, v, pull, and so on. And then I'm going to choose a couple of activities here. So this, we really like the roll and read. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the skill on a game page. I'm going to put a number 1 here because we're going to do this first. We're going to highlight the skill on a game page. So I have here's my roll and read game page. And I customized this. Beginning blends, CVC, and vowel consonant E. So I wrote in the words, and the student is going to go through and they're going to highlight the beginning blends. Grr, and so on, just like that. So we're going to go through and highlight and read those blends. And then I also want him to do some arm tap and writing. So that's going to be 2. And they're going to arm tap and write. And I'm going to say we're going to add to game page. Down here at the bottom, I left some blanks open. So I'm going to dictate some words for him to add to this page, okay, that are going to have blends at the beginning. And those words are going to be, I'm going to write this in my notes, add to game or to roll and read. He's going to write smug, trap, 3 CVC words, and then I'm going to do 3 vowel consonant E. Twine, quote, there's the one with that QU, quote, and prune. So this is the part where he writes. Okay. And I've just taken those words right from the lesson pages. And I tried to take words that maybe are not as common, because like I said, he knows how to write a lot of words. So maybe not as common words. Now I'm ready for phrase and sentence work. And this student is capable of phrase and sentence work. And I usually dictate the sentence and he writes it using that new skill. So again, on your pages, you've got some sentences down at the bottom. I started to check a couple of sentences and then I realized, whoops, this one has a skill that I haven't taught, like the word chores. I haven't taught CH, even though he's tapping, I haven't taught it. So I'm not going to give him that sentence. So sometimes I will customize these sentences. I'll change them in a little way. So here I have a sentence we can do, try not to stare at Steve. I think that's got all the skills that he knows. So I would write the sentences in here. Try not to stare because I want everything right at my fingertips so I can just go through the lesson plan without, where's my materials, flipping through my book, deciding what I'm going to choose at that moment. I want it all ready to go so I know exactly what I'm going to do. All right, try not to stare at Steve. Here's another sentence. What was the price? And I'm going to add of that stove. I'm going to just extend that sentence. So we've got words in here with blends, beginning blends. Price of that stove. And also other skills in there that he has been taught, like price. He knows that CE says at the end. And then I'll pick one from this. Get a rag to blot the spot. We'll do 3. Get a rag to blot the spot. So those are my sentences I'm going to dictate for him to write. And then our game, since we highlighted the skill on our roll and read, we're going to play our roll and read. We are going to play Connect 4 with that roll and read. So it's already prepared. Well, here's our roll and read, and he wrote words. Just pretend that there's words written in there that he wrote. And all you have to do is slide this in. For those of you that are able to come to our make and takes, you have seen a variety of different ways you can play roll and read, which is awesome. So he's marked them. He's written the words at the bottom. And then you have 2 different colored markers. And you can play, I usually play with him. So we take turns, and then he rolled a 5. So he's going to read all of these: brave, slug, prime, trim, break, and whatever that word is. And then he chooses where he wants to put his check mark or X. And then I would roll, and I would read my words: frame, sped, slave, crag, brace, and whatever this word is. And then I would use a different color, which I don't have right now, a different color. I'll use a different symbol. How about that? And I will do an X, and that place it there. And then you just play until you can connect 4 across, 4 up and down, or 4 diagonal. And it's a lot of fun. Kids, he really enjoys that. A lot of kids like to play Connect 4, and it's very, very simple. And that is pretty much, we may review a puzzle word. One of his words was sure, so we may review that. And that's pretty much a good, solid lesson plan that takes up 50 minutes. It'll take me about 50 minutes to get through this, and then I can go back up here and make sure that I, add my materials. I need a roll and read, game board. So you make sure you have all your materials that you need. Okay? And that's pretty much how I would do a lesson. There's a lot of thought that goes into planning a lesson for the students. Sometimes some students it takes longer, and some students it doesn't take as long. So it kind of depends.